Right. So I want you to show everyone one thing that we should discuss is these type of candles, the glass cased candles.
Yes.
We did get some questions on that. So I do read some of your comments, guys. So we'll get the guru here. We're not worthy. To show us how to dress one of these candles, because I know some of these candles will come out, but most of them, they're not going to come out of the case. And so when you're working with the root, when you're working in Conjure, there's a very specific way that you do dress these candles. So I'm going to leave it to Guru here to show us how to do that.
All right, so anyone who's familiar with the candles that you get at your local Botanica, they'll often have words written on them. This is "Pay Me" candle. That's good. You do want to have words written on your candles, but even if they come with words written on the candles, you want to make it more specific to you. So I start off with a Sharpie or a permanent marker. You could also write it on a piece of paper, glue it to the candle, whatever. What you're trying to do is take this very generic thing to make it specific to your work and make it even more specific to you. So the same way that we carved our words on the taper candle, we're going to write our words on the 7-day. So you want to start off with your target's name and date of birth. And yes, we use words like target because, that's what it is when you're doing this work. You're targeting a certain personal situation. So I will put St. Elias, born...
What was that?
Right. And then I want to write my intentions the same way that I did on the taper candle. So income. Increased income. Prosperity. If you're looking for a job, you want to write that down there. And when you're done writing your words, it could even be a prayer. You could write a psalm on this candle if you like. You want to take something pointy. This works. And you want to put 2 holes in the candle. You can use chopsticks. You can use tongs, anything. You can use a pencil. But you just want to make 2 holes in the candle. We use 2 holes because it seems to be the perfect amount not to drown the wick. If you put too many holes in your 7-day, it'll drown the wick. And it'll, after you took time to dress a candle and make it pointless. So those are the 2 holes right there. In these holes, you want to load your herbs. And so we'll default back to our money drawing herbs. Just go ahead and put those in the top of your candle, like so. Take your utensil, whatever utensil you use to load the candle, and stuff those roots into those holes. You want the roots to fill those holes. Take your time.
So how deep should they go down?
They should, with whatever method you use, you should see a line going down the side of the candle, because you also want to be very sure that you're pushing the roots down. So when the roots are completely full of the holes, probably 3/4 full, because then you want to top it with your oil, whatever oil you're using.
Right.
If you're using Hydron or if you're using olive oil, and that's, I just want to be very clear with Hoodoo. You don't have to get fancy. You don't have to go out and buy these fancy things. Back in the day, they didn't have these fancy things. They would go out of their front door. This was the common man's magic. This was the poor folks' magic. And so they went out and they used what they had, and they had olive oil. So
did they have olive oil back then?
I know that they...
If anyone knows what type of oils, because I'm just thinking, like, they'd be quite, like, what were they using?
Even if they had
vegetable oil?
Vegetable oil loaded with roots. And so they would have the roots that... So back to the history of Conjure. It is a combination of African folk magic, Native American folk magic, and European folk magic. So when the slave... the Conjure Hoodoo root work as a result of the transatlantic slave trade. So when the slaves were brought over here from Africa to America, their magic was based on the plants and the trees, that it was very nature-based, that they had in Africa. So mainly Congo, part of Africa. Right. And so there's also a warrior spirit that resides in Hoodoo due to the Congolese influence in Hoodoo. But when they arrived here in America, they didn't have the same roots or the same trees. And so they had to reach out to the people who did. And the Native Americans did have that medicine. They did have...
that's left out a lot. That's interesting to me. We'll get into that in another video, but that's really important, I think.
So they had to use those roots in their work. They had to relearn the spirit of the roots. They had to see which ones worked for them in their work, and they got that information from the Native Americans. And to talk about candle work, candles weren't often used in African folk magic and not very much Native American folk magic either, but they had to figure out how to hide their work. And
good point.
They had to find out how to, they had to figure out how to hide their work to be safe. They couldn't be looking like they were doing some type of witchcraft, hoodoo stuff. And so they often did that with the saints that are often used in hoodoo, the Bible, which is often used in hoodoo, and candles, which are often used in hoodoo. So you see these influences as they come together to form what we know now as Conjure.
Right, awesome. So like these days that I believe to a pure oil, and what I use when I'm doing hoodoo witchcraft, I can say that because I'm naughty. He's pure, okay? So don't listen, we're talking about purity right now. But I like olive oil myself because I think olive oil is pure. Like I'm looking at the Greek and the Roman gods, and I like the texture of it. I like, especially when it's extra virgin. But, this is extra virgin. Look, it's a virgin.
There's something very hearty about olive oil, that even when you're eating olives, that flavor is very rich, very rich, just like you want to possibly be with your money drawing work. So you get those herbs nice and stuff down into the candle through the holes that you made. You pour a little oil on top and make sure that oil drops as much as it can into the holes as well, because you don't want to drown the wick of your candle. It's all this work that goes into dressing these candles, and then you drown your wick, and you have to start all over again. So what should happen if your candle is dressed well? With 7 days, they melt because of the heat, the melting point. They melt about right here. And you'll see, even if you just burn a regular 7-day, that the wax in the candle will just keep rotating as it burns. And so it's working the wax. If you have your roots in there appropriately and your oil, it'll work the roots. It'll work that oil for 7 days. And it's literally just going around in circles as it goes down. You can even decide, much like the knob candles that go over 7 days, except for you have to watch those knobs. With this, you can have it separated into 7 days. So if you work with 7 days enough and you know how far it burns down per day, you can say, here I want to find a job. Here I want a promotion at that job. Here I want to get recognition at that position. And these different things will happen. This is a really great way to find a house as well.
What a good idea.
You could start the house search, you can find an agent, you can find a physical location, and you can move in. And so something that takes more than one step to accomplish, 7 days are really good.
That's awesome. All right, so you fill it up with oil. How far, or just till the holes are covered?
Just until the holes are covered. You can have a little bit on the top. I always pat it dry on the top because I'm really concerned about that wick being drowned.
So you don't drown the wick.
You don't drown the wick, so you just pat it dry on the top. You don't want excess oil. You could, and if you're doing it right, you should see the holes go down the side of the candle. You should know that I can see these much roots. It's like a fill mark. These many roots in here, and I have this much oil in here, and it's not affecting the top of the candle.
So that's why you said chopsticks immediately.
Yeah, well, chopsticks are the right width. They're the perfect width. I mean, of course, back in the day, they weren't using chopsticks.
They didn't have chopsticks.
They didn't have chopsticks. But it's since we have it now.
Chinese learning in America at the same time.
But since we have it now, we use it.
We use it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you evolve. That is the idea.
This is just a little PSA since we're here.
Great. Go on, say it.
How do I put this? So, a lot people will try to take you back to the time of the slave trade. They'll try to take you back there. They'll try to simplify Conjure. They'll try to say that it's very basic. It's very simple, simplistic. It's very down south, and it is. That's the spirit of it. But let me tell you something, baby. I have met CEOs in DC who have mojo bags in their right pocket, who are making buku bucks doing this. And so, as the people evolve, as African Americans become more educated and more successful, so does the work. And so we still use what's available to us. We have a lot more that's available to us now, but we still use it. And so don't neglect that. You don't always have to go back to the original. You don't always, if you have High John oil, why not use your hydron oil? Yeah, you can use your olive oil. And if that's all you have, then that's what I suggest. But if you have access to hydron oil, if you know your planetary hours, then you got to use these things. Otherwise, what are you trying to do? You know, like, what are you really trying to, like, make your magic work? And if that's how it can work, then make it work.
Right.
That's
Cheers to that, baby.
Cheers to that.
Thank you so much. I've been educated, as always, hanging out with this guru.
She's a guru.
But,
that's why we love each other.
That's why we love each other. And if you want some advice, I know he says he doesn't give any. He does. You can go onto his page, CrescentCityConjure.us.
CrescentCityConjure.us. If you want more information.
Yes.
I am a full service conjure shop, so that means I do work for clients.
Yes.
I do readings and I sell products.
He does sell the original Hoodoo product, and he's my go-to guy for this area. I gotta say. So for those of you out there in the past where I say I'm using a male energy, this is the male energy that I'm using, using and abusing. You know, because it's
well, we really vibe. We understand each other, you know, and so that's important. You know, if you're going to work with them, then you have to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah,
very good understanding.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Grateful.